Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. We're continuing on our series of Global War 1936 to 1945 expansion sets. In this video we're going to be talking about Plan Z, or War Plan Z, you can call it either one. This was a German scheme that Hitler had come up with before the war ever began. Let me just read what it says here. As early as 1934, Hitler envisioned a powerful fleet that could challenge British naval superiority. In this expansion, the German player can purchase one of 3 War Plan Z schemes. While the Germans get a discount on ships, they also commit themselves to building a lot of vessels, committing resources for many turns to come. So that's the drawback. In this scheme, there's extra ships that are available to the Germans, and they're wicked ships too. I'm going to show them to you. But the drawback is that you're committed to buying them, and so you pretty much have to commit yourself to a naval war, right? Like you're going to challenge for the Atlantic is basically what you're saying, rather than going for a Barbarossa attack or whatever. Like this is going to take a significant amount of resources away from building land units. And so it's up to you. You kind of got to decide. But there's 3 different plans, and one of them starts before the game starts. So you would decide before the game even started if you wanted to go with that plan. And it's the cheapest plan, right? And then you can decide later on in 1938 or 1939. There's 2 other plans that start then. So those are before the war starts as well. But at that point, you can kind of gauge where the game is going and decide whether or not you want to implement one of those plans, right? You can't go back and start with the first plan anymore, though. Like you have to do the plan that starts in the year that you're starting. And then once July of 1939 comes along, then you can't implement those war plans anymore. So you're going to get a good deal on ships. You're going to get lots of money worth of ships. But you're going to have to commit to spending after that on ships, and so that's the rub right there. And you'll find with these expansion sets, it's like anything with these war games, that there's a lot of German expansion sets, more so than any of the other nations, because people they found Germany to be more interesting, I think, than the other nations in the war. I know when I make videos, people flock to the German videos, whether they're strategy videos or building your army videos or whatever. They're always going to get more views than all of the other videos, and the Germans were interesting. Like they did all kinds of weird shit in the war, right? So that's why people gravitate to them. You know, I don't think it makes them Nazis or anything. I just think that it's interesting, right? And so that's what they go for. So anyway, this is called Plan Z, and let's get into it. So there's a bunch of ships that you can get, and you wouldn't buy these from the site at Historical Board Gaming. I'll show you one that you can get there, but for the most part, you're going to get your ships from Shapeways, and you're still buying them from Historical Board Gaming, but they have, as a lot of people do, they have their own little shop on Shapeways as well, and that's probably where they get their 3D printed units. So if you're ever looking for 3D printed units on Historical Board Gaming and it's sold out, and it's been sold out for a while or anything, you can go to their shop on Shapeways and look, because they might have them there. Probably at least half of them or more. They've got 3 pages of 3D units for Historical Board Gaming on Shapeways, and so it's quite possible that you can find the unit that you've been looking for on that site. Not guaranteed, but it's possible. The only drawback for you though is that most of the units come in white, like just a straight white, and then you have to paint them whatever color. So if it's Germans, then you're painting them probably black. You might have gray Germans, but whatever color you normally have your units, you'd have to paint them that color, because unlike when you buy them 3D units on Historical Board Gaming, they paint them on Historical Board Gaming before they sell them to you. So you are getting a little bit cheaper at Shapeways, but you're you're also having to paint them as well, and paint does cost money. Plus, if you're not set up to do that, you know, like you haven't done it before, and you might be a little worried about how to do it, then you might have to just wait till they're in stock again. So let's get into this this war plan Z. So there's 3 war plans, like I said. There's 34, 38, and 39, and you can elect one of these plans or none of them. You don't have to play it. And so it's a scheme, and what a scheme is, it's a set of changes that you make to the rules of the game. So like here's the first one that you're looking at, and I've been showing it to you for a minute here. This is 1934. So it actually starts in 34, but the game doesn't start until 36. And so it's already started before the game is started. So it costs you 12 IPPs at the start of the game. Germany gets 20 IPPs at the start of the game. So in other words, Germany would only get 8 IPPs. And instead of that 12, you would have an aircraft carrier on position 4, P-class Panzer ship on position 3, a light cruiser on position 2, and then you also get to place a German roundel on stage 1 of improved shipyards. Now what those positions mean, that's over here, right, on the build chart. So like there's already some things on the build chart over here from just from the out of box game, right? So you get an aircraft carrier up on position 4 over there. You get a P-class Panzer ship on position 3, and I believe that's a battle cruiser. It's a cruiser anyway. And then there's a light cruiser on position 2. So the payments will already have been made to that point. And then you get to place a German roundel on stage 1 of improved shipyards. So that's that table up there. And who knows how many times you'd have to roll the dice to get your roundel on that first spot over there. It's the very last one down there, number 13. So you know, like that's going to help you out too, because that's going to make your units a lot cheaper. It makes your boats 2 IPP cheaper, and I think subs and maybe it's just subs, but it could also be transports are only 1 IPP cheaper. So your navy is going to be a lot cheaper, especially after you get improved shipyards, and you probably will. Like if you start with this scheme and you start with your roundel on there, and you're going to keep going down that route, obviously that's one that you want to develop. With you buying a lot of ships, then that's going to help. So if you do that, if you do that, then you have to you're required at that point. Then each turn after the 1936 game, you must spend 12 IPPs to either advance the units on the production queue and or purchase submarines, 2 required and 3 destroyers required, or improve shipyards technology. So you're going to have to spend 12 IPPs to move ships along here, or to build submarines or destroyers, because submarines and destroyers just go on at the very end, like these ones are here. And you're required to build a certain number of them, and then once you've done what you're supposed to do, then you can spend money on whatever you want, right? Anyway, so that's the first one. The second one, it starts in, that's 1939. I think I got this. There we go. I had it backwards. So the second one in 1938, that's in January of 1938. So you'd have to announce, I'm going to implement this scheme. It costs 15 IPP to start. And the setup changes you can see here. So in this one, not only are you getting the aircraft carrier, the light carrier, the Panzer ship, and the light cruiser, but you're also getting an H-class battleship, and that would be the H-39. I believe it's the H-39. It doesn't specify, but there's also an H-44 that you can use. But it's a much different battleship, and I pulled up the numbers for that to show you that as well, because they're not listed in here. So if you do that and you place all those things on there, you actually get to place a German roundel on stage 2 of improved shipyards. So who knows? It could take you 5 or 6 or 7 rolls to get that far, right? And you know, you're paying 2 IPPs per roll. Germany does get 1 free roll, but you know, if you're using it on that, then you're using your 2 IPPs to roll for heavy tanks or whatever. So yeah, it is going to cost you more. And then what you're required to do after that is, again, you have to spend 12 IPPs to either advance those units on the production queue, or you have to purchase 6 submarines or one of the heavy destroyers. And I'm going to show you those too. That's pretty cool sculpt. You have to build one of those. And 2 regular destroyers that you normally play in the game, plus 3 torpedo boat destroyers. But that there's an asterisk there. It says this is an exception to the rule that torpedo boat destroyers may not be built. Oh, so you do have to build those. So they're going to cost 4 IPP. That's interesting. I've never noticed that. It's a good thing I bought myself a couple of extra ones then, just for this. But you could probably use whatever sculpt that you're normally using for torpedo boat destroyers if you didn't have the extra ones. But you are going to need to build 3 more of those, and they're going to cost 4 IPPs each. So that's the 38 scheme. If you're playing the 39 scheme, it's pretty similar actually. It costs 14 IPPs to start. What was the other one? 15? Yeah, it was 50. So this one's going to cost you 14 IPPs, and it looks like you get exactly the same thing. Let me just check out here. There's 1 ship less. I'm looking here to see which one it is. 2, 4, 5. Yeah, so you're getting 1 ship less in there. You are getting that roundel on stage 2 of the improved shipyards. So if you do that one, again, you have to pay 12 IPPs to either advance the units or purchase submarines. You need 6 of those. You need 1 of those heavy destroyers and 3 torpedo boat destroyers. But you don't have to buy the regular destroyers that you had to buy in the 38 setup, right? So you can't just buy the 39 setup and 38 though. Like you have to, when it's 38, in January 38, at the start of your turn, you have to say, okay, I'm going to do the scheme. Or in January 39, you have to say you're going to do the scheme. Or before the game starts, you're going to have to say you're doing that scheme. Now, you can end the scheme, but it's not recommended. Like if you really had to, you started building all these ships and then the Russians, they just poured over the Polish border and they're on their way. You might have to end it. So if that's the case, you can declare an end to the War Plan Z scheme. You must immediately scrap all the units that are in production. So you got to remove them from the queue. So all the ships that you started building over here, you're going to have to take them off. You're going to lose them if you decide to end the scheme. Or you pay 1 IPP per turn to maintain them in the current state. So each ship on there, like so let's say you had 3 of them, you'd have to pay 3 IPPs just to keep them. You wouldn't move them along. You would just keep them, right? And if you do scrap them, you can get 2 IPPs per capital ship and 1 IPP for any other ship. So let's say you had these 3 ships on here. You would get 2 IPPs there and 2 IPPs for that capital ship. You'd get 4 IPPs back, but that's less than what you paid for them, right? So it's not a good idea to do that. So one of the other bonuses is that you can do convoy raiding with them. Normally, convoy raiding is just something that you do with subs, right? But with these ships that you're going to get, you can engage in convoy raiding. But like subs, you can only do 1 per zone. Like you can't gang up on somebody, right? You have a +0 modifier, so a sub is +2. A sub's still a better one to use, but these ones are just, you know, like you can use them, right? And then ships with the benefit of an escort may not be attacked, it says. So you can't just go and attack something if there's an escort on that line, I guess. And when the other side has developed anti-submarine warfare, the advanced one on the chart, like say the British or the Americans developed it, you can't do that against ships. You're only using it against submarines, right? So they're not going to get that extra roll on the convoy rating. So these convoy raiding ships are designed to simulate raiding by a number of types of surface ships operating alone or in small groups. they would likely not oppose a convoy with multiple escorts. So that's why you wouldn't do it if it had an escort. So let's take a look at these units here. First of all, before my computer goes to sleep here, let's take a look at this one. This isn't one that's in here. Okay, this one says H-44, but that can't be right because that's not the right numbers for the H-44. The H-44 was an enormous battleship, like twice the size of the Yamato, and the sculpt in this game is much bigger than even the Super Yamato sculpt that you can get in the 3D printed units. So like this should say H-39 on it, and that would be attack 8, defense 8, move 3, and cost 21 and that would be this battleship right here. This is the H-39, which is what that should say, I believe. I'd be highly surprised if it was the H-44, because you see this H-44 here. Well, on the site there, this is the H-44 battleship. So it's a huge battleship. You couldn't buy it before July of 1939. It's got a 6 for shore bombardment. It takes 4 hits to sink it. And then each hit reduces the H-44 by -2 attack and defense. Must be constructed at a shipyard, and it takes 6 turns to complete. So 6 turns times $6, right? It's a $36 battleship, but it's almost a guaranteed hit. It's attack 10 and defense 10 and moves 3. So it's just a killer. Like if Hitler would have built a bunch of these like he wanted, 6 of these like he wanted, he could have just gone out and destroyed the British fleet. But of course, that's going to take away from the German war effort, you know, as far as building tanks. Think of how big this battleship would have been, how many tanks you could build out of that much steel, right? So it's a choice you make. Now, with these numbers here, that's this other battleship here. And this is a unit that you would get on Shapeways at HPG's site on Shapeways, and they're pretty nice. Like, this is not a Bismarck, this is an H-39, and that would be the numbers for that. That would be the 8 and the 8 and the movement 3 and attack 21. And then we have the O-class battle cruiser. So what this is, it's a heavy cruiser. Now normally in the game, cruisers, I believe, are 6 and 6, right? Like they attack at 6 and defend at 6 here. I'm just going to grab the German card just to make sure I'm not giving you the wrong information. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, though. So, C units, cruiser. Yeah, they're normally attacks at 6 and 6, and they move 3, and cost. Normally they cost 12. So this one's going to cost you 2 more, but you're going to get 7 and 7 instead of 6 and 6. But it also has a +1 convoy rating modifier. So you can raid convoys with this ship. You can't raid convoys with your regular cruisers. Now that's this thing here. Again, it's a pretty nice sculpt. This is the O-class battle cruiser here. And these ships were cheaper than what you would expect. What you buy ships for on the historical board gaming site, like I said, but like that's because they paint theirs and you have to paint yours, right? So, so you're going to get them a little bit cheaper. And then the next thing was just a regular cruiser, and that's this one. That's that P-class Panzer ship that I was talking about. Well, I guess that's a heavy cruiser. So a battle cruiser must be like a small battleship. That's probably what a battle cruiser is. Sorry about that. And so this would be a heavy cruiser, and it attack at 6 and defend, or sorry, attack 7, defend 6, move 3, and cost 13. So you're getting like normally a cruiser is 6, 6, 3, and 12. So you're getting +1 on the attack, +1 on the cost, and then you get to raid convoys with this ship, whereas you don't raid convoys with the regular cruisers, right? And then the last one there that I have there is this one here. It's a heavy destroyer, and normally a destroyer is 4, 4, 3, and 8, I believe. Let me just check that. Yeah, 4, 4, 3, and 8. But this one is 5, 4, 3, and 9. So you get that +1 on the attack, Plus it's got a +1 convoy rating modifier. So you get to raid convoys with that one, whereas you wouldn't with your regular destroyers, right? Now these light carriers those are just the normal light carriers that you get from historical board gaming. You get these in a pack of 5, right? You probably could get a 3D printed one, but why bother, right? So they're just like your regular light carrier, right? And it says it gets an anti-aircraft shot at 2, but cannot cause damage to any naval units. So that's something that's new for this. If you were to buy this scheme, because I don't think that's normal for the light carriers. It says defend 1. And it doesn't say anything about an anti-aircraft shot. So that's something new for the light carriers on here. And then the regular carriers, the Graf Zeppelin carriers, I didn't buy a sculpt for that either. You can get 3D printed ones, but I've got so many of these that I don't use already. And I do believe that was also the Graf Zeppelin sculpt to begin with anyway, right? It's your regular fleet carrier, so it doesn't attack. It defends at 2, it moves 2, and it costs 19. And a carrier normally on here, 10, it normally costs 18. So it's going to cost 1 more. Why? It says that it's a capital ship. I don't know what the difference is here, because yeah, I'm just reading here. I don't see any difference between that and a regular carrier. In fact, a regular carrier can move 3, and it's cheaper. So I think you should probably just go with the carrier rules, these normal ones over here, because the Graf Zeppelin, unless there's something that I'm missing here, I don't see the point in getting this carrier. Anyway, yeah, so I love the sculpts in this, and the guys that are coming to play a game next weekend from Alberta, they've played this scheme a few times before, and so whoever plays Germany, I hope that they decide to try it out, because I'd like to see how it pans out, right? I'd like to see before I try it. Like, I want to see how they do it, because they've done it a few times, right? Me, I'd probably just kind of bumble around and, pick the wrong scheme or something. But these guys have tried it, and so they know which one to get and what to do and what not to do, and so that'll be interesting. Anyway, so that is War Plan Z, and that is an expansion set from Historical Board Gaming. So take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.